Hello students of class 11. Welcome back once again to your biology class. So in our last class we have been reading with the kingdom plantae. So today we will also continue with the same chapter and we will start from division Bryophyta. So first you have to know what are the general characteristics of the bryophytes. The bryon word means the moss and phyton means the plant. So bryophytes were the first plants to colonize the land. The bryophytes are terrestrial, but they also grow in the shady places. These bryophytes are called the amphibians of the plant kingdom. Why? Because they need water to perform the process of reproduction. The dominant phase of this plant body is a gametophyte, and these gametophyte may be thalloid or leafy erect plant as it is seen in mosses. And the vascular tissues are absent and the conduction of the water and the food materials occurs from cell to cell. And certain mosses, they possess a strand of thick walled cells for the purpose of conduction. Now, how is the reproduction in bryophytes performed? They perform their reproduction by means of vegetative and sexual. The vegetative reproduction, how it occurs? By fragmentation, gyma formation, progressive death and decay of the parts of the thallus, and by the formation of secondary protonema. Sexual reproduction, how this is done? Sexual reproduction is oogamous, and the sex organs are antheridia in case of male and archegonia in case of female. They are multicellular and they have a sterile jacket layer. Okay, and a number of flagellated or motile antherozoids are liberated from the antheridium. And apart from that, the sporangium, this is the simplest form of rhexia, and that is embedded in the gametophyte. Understood? And it can be differentiated into different parts as it is taking place in moss. What are the different parts? Foot, seta and capsule. Foot. What is that? The foot that attaches to the sporophyte on the gametophyte. What it does? It absorbs the food from the gametophyte. And the seta, how it is? It is a long stalk-like structure which exposes the capsule for any easy liberation of spores. And what is capsule? The spore-bearing organ is known as the capsule. How is the life cycle of bryophyte? The life cycle is haplodiplontic, and there is regular alternation of generations between the gametophyte and the sporophytic phase, and the alternation of the generation is heteromorphic as the gametophyte and the sporophyte are morphologically distinct. So these bryophytes can be divided into three classes. First is Hepaticopsida, that is the liverwort, the Anthoceratopsida, that is the hornwort, and the Bryopsida, that is the mosses. Okay, so first we will discuss about the Hepaticopsida or the liverwort. How it is? The gametophyte. How is the gametophyte of the plant body? It is dorsiventral and it is dichotomously branched, and there is a thallus. It is smooth on the dorsal side and it bears rhizoid and scale. How is the reproduction? Vegetative reproduction, it occurs by the death and the decay of the older parts of the thallus and regeneration of the younger parts. Sexual reproduction is oogamous The sex organs may be embedded in the thallus as in Rixia, or they may be born in stalk structure, which is known as the gametophores in Marchantia. It is found in Marchantia. And hornwort. Hornwort is the term, is another type, which is given another name, which is known as the Anthoceratopsida. Anthoceratopsida. How is the gametophyte? The gametophyte thallus is dorsiventral, flat, irregularly lobed thallus, which is attached to the moist soil or the substratum by means of unicellular rhizoids on the ventral surface. And reproduction, it occurs by fragmentation, gamma formation, tubers in case of vegetative reproduction, and in sexual reproduction it is oogamas, and the sex organs are embedded in the thallus, and they are similar as in case of liverwort. And the sporophyte, how it is? The zygote is the first cell of the sporophyte. It forms the sporogonium by undergoing repeated mitotic division, and the spore sac have diploid pseudoelaters and haploid spores. Next comes bryopsida or the mosses. How is the gametophyte? The gametophyte is erect, leafy thallus. Leafy, in other words, we say as foliose. It is differentiated into root-like rhizoids, stem-like colloids, and leaf-like phylloids. How is the reproduction? Vegetative reproduction by means of fragmentation and tubers. In this process, the vegetative reproduction is carried out. How is the sexual reproduction performed? The sexual reproduction is oogamous, and the thallus is monoecious and bears the antheridia and the archegonia at the tip of different branches. How is the sporophyte? The zygote is the first cell of the sporophyte, and it undergoes repeated mitotic divisions and forms a multicellular sporophyte that is differentiated into different parts. What are the parts? Foot, seta, and the capsule. Okay. The next, we will know about the economic importance of bryophytes. How are the bryophytes economically important? Since the bryophytes grow as dense mats on the soil, they act as soil binders and help in the to check the process of soil erosion. Sphagnum, this is another example, which forms peat, which is very rich in carbon. When the dead plants accumulate, they get compressed and hardened, and peat is formed. Now, what is this peat? PEAT. Used for, this peat is used for alcohol, peat tar, paraffin, and for tanning different types of materials. And this peat is also mixed with clay soil, and it makes porous, to make it porous, and the sandy soil to improve the water holding capacity. And different bryophytes also are used as indicator plants because they grow in areas which is rich in different types of minerals. Okay. Next, we will start the division of Pteridophyta. Pteron. The word pteron means feather and phyton means plant. So, the name of this division is derived from the characteristic feather-like leaves of the plants, which are known as the ferns. The plant body is a sporophyte, and these are the first land plants to develop the vascular tissues and are included in Tracheophyta. They can be found in varied habitat. They can be aquatic, they can be epiphytes, they can be xerophytes. So this plant is differentiated into true root, stem, and true leaves. The primary root basically is short-lived, and it is replaced by adventitious roots. Okay, the stem is usually rhizomatous, and they are rarely woody, as in tree ferns. And the leaves are very small and microphyllous. And what is the mode of reproduction exhibited? Reproduction in the sporophyte, it occurs by myospore, which is formed in structures called sporangium. When it becomes mature, certain leaves start bearing the sporangia singly or in clusters, which is known as sori, which is covered, sori, sorry, which is covered over the indusium on the ventral surface, and such leaves are known as sporophylls. How is the gametophyte? The spores are the first cell of the gametophyte in the pteridophytus. How do they germinate? They germinate on suitable substratum and form the gametophyte. How is the life cycle? The pteridophytes show a haplodiplontic life cycle, and there is regular alternation between the short-lived independent gametophyte and the dominant sporophyte. Alternation of generation is heteromorphic. Okay, now these are the things you have to learn from here. Now we come to the division of gymnosperm. Gymno means naked and sperma means seed. So these are the plants. These gymnosperm are the plants with naked seeds and are more ancient than the angiosperms. They have originated during the Paleozoic area about 260 million years before, and they flourished during the Mesozoic area and are replaced by the angiosperm. The gymnosperms have a very well developed tap root system. In some roots, the root get into symbiotic association. Okay, and the stem is erect and woody structure, and it is unbranched in cycles, and they show monopodial branching as it happens in Pinus. The leaves, they show pinnately compound leaves are found, and needle-like or simple in different species. Scale leaves also are found, as you can see in Pinus. The vascular bundles are open and secondary growth occurs, resulting in the formation of soft wood or non-porous wood. Now, how the reproduction is exhibited? All the gymnosperms are heterosporous, and they produce two types of spores in the structures called cones or strobili. The microsporangia and megasporangia are born on microsporophylls and megasporophylls respectively. Okay, and the sporophylls, these are compactly arranged on a central axis and they form cones. And these microspores, they develop into pollen grains, and the megaspores grow into the female gametophyte. Now we will know about the life cycle of the gymnosperm. How is the life cycle of gymnosperm? The gymnosperm, they show a diplontic life cycle, and the sporophyte is the 2N, that is the dominant phase, which is represented by trees. The gametophyte is microscopic, short-lived, and it is dependent on the sporophyte, and there is heteromorphic alternation of generations. Now here in the gymnosperms, you have to draw the life cycle stages of the gymnosperm. Okay, you will see in your book it's given the life cycle of a gymnosperm or the life cycle of Pinus. Then you have to practice the diagram. Next, what is the economic importance of the gymnosperms? The cycas type of plants, these are used as ornamental plants. For decoration. Sago, that is obtained from cycas species, and different conifers, they yield timbers that is used for making the railway sleepers, matchsticks, plywood, etc. And different woods of gymnosperm are used for making paper, and tannins, that is obtained from the bark of sago, and different seeds are roasted and these seeds are eaten. So this is all about the chapter. Next we will start a new chapter. So the next chapter is Kingdom Animalia. Chapter 4, Kingdom Animalia. This we will start now. Now, you know, all the animals from this name you can understand all the animals are included in this kingdom, and these are multicellular and these are known as metazoans. Now what are the special characteristics? Special characteristics of the animals are the mobility and the presence of the nervous system. Now Aristotle, he classified animals basically into two categories. First is the anima, second is the enima. And this enima that was further divided into viviparous and oviparous. What are the viviparous? Viviparous are those animals that give birth to young ones directly, like the mammals. And oviparous, what are those? That animals that lay eggs. Okay, those egg-laying animals are known as oviparous, like the frog, the lizard. And I think you know what are the aquatic animals. Aquatic animals are those animals who live in water. This may be freshwater forms or they may be living in marine forms also. Now depending on the depth of the water where the animal lives, the animals are divided into different types. One is the zooplankton. Who are the zooplanktons? Those animals who are passively floating on the surface of the water body. Those are known as zooplanktons. Nectons are the actively swimming organisms in the water column. Okay. And the planktons and the nectons, they are collectively known as pelagic forms. Third is the benthos or the benthic animals are those animals who live on the floor of the water body. Okay. And terrestrial animals, you know, those animals who live on land according to the environment adaptations, they can change their body appearance or they can change their body temperature. Terrestrial animals can be of different types. Some can be burrowing, some can run fast, some live on the trees, are known as arboreal animals, and some are the aerial animals who keep on flying, most often like birds, bats. Okay. So, based on the lifestyle of that animal, free living animal can be solitary animals who live alone, like grasshopper, colonial animals who live in groups or herds and help one another, like the honeybees, you know, and gregarious animals who live in large groups but they do not help one another. Okay, and apart from that, you know about the parasites. Parasites are those animals who depend on other organisms for their food or shelter. They stay on the body of the host. Now these animals, whether the animal is ectoparasite or endoparasite. Ectoparasite are those animals who live on the surface of the body of the host, like ticks and mites. And endoparasite are those parasites who live within the body of the host, like roundworm, tapeworm, etc. Apart from that, based on the food habit also, the animal can be subdivided into herbivores, feed on the plants, carnivores, who feed on the flesh of other animals, cannibals, who feed on the fellow animals, detrivores, who feed on the freshly decaying organic matter called detritus and break those into smaller particles like earthworm. Saprozoic animals who feed on the decaying organic matter and they absorb their digested part. And based on the body temperature also, the animal can be subdivided into poikilotherms and homeotherms. Poikilotherms, in other words, you can say ectotherms or the cold-blooded animals. Who are these? These are the animals whose body temperature changes with the environmental conditions, like frog and lizard. And homotherms or endotherms or warm-blooded animals. You can give any term. Who are these? These are the animals who maintain a constant body temperature through metabolic regulations, like birds and animals. And based on when the animal is active, it can be divided into nocturnal animals who are active during the night, diurnal animals who are active during the day, and Based on the nitrogenous waste excreted by them, the animals can be divided into ammonotelic animals, who are those who secrete the nitrogenous waste mainly as ammonia, like bony fishes and tadpoles. Ureotelic animals, who are those who excrete the nitrogenous waste mainly in the form of urea, like all mammals. Uricotelic animals excrete uric acid. Aminotelic animals excrete amine. Till this much today. We will continue with the remaining portion in our next class. Thank you.